I consider a shoulder plane to be one of the essential planes. You got to have it. It does a function that you can't do with any other plane. Now, Wood River has three options: the 1-inch, the 3/4, and the 1/2 inch. And if I was only going to choose one, I would choose the 3/4, but I'll show you why you might want one of the other two as well. What's it used for? Well, first of all, if you notice the way it's set up, the blade is exposed on both sides. In fact, the blade is always a little bit wider than the actual body of the tool. If I'm going to be working up against this side, then what I would do is lay this down against a hard surface, press down so that the blade now sticks out a little bit beyond, and then up against a really hard surface, press like that, and now that blade is flush. Sight down the sole to make sure I've got some exposure. Now, I like this because they hollow out the lever cap, and I can put my 3 fingers up in there, squeeze the lever cap right here, and I have lots of control on this. It has a large surface on the side compared to the sole, so that as it lays up tight against what we call the cheek, it then sets up a square cut between the cheek and the end grain shoulder of the tenon. And it's the way this meets the opposing piece that determines how nice your joint looks. So that needs to be nice and square. And occasionally, you're going to have to come in and adjust that after you've sawn it. Now, I look right down through here, and I can see the blade engage, and then I can watch it come along, make a nice uniform cut, and pull off a nice end grain shaving. And that's how you would use a shoulder plane. That's how I use a shoulder plane. So what you need is the capacity for however wide your shoulders are going to be. If your stock is always 3/4, then that typically is never going to be more than 1/4 inch. If you're using 1.5 inch, you're going to need to have a 1/2 inch capacity. So a 3/4 is going to cover the bases for you nicely, and it has some nice mass behind it. Another quick feature, these have an adjustable toe piece. So with your screwdriver, you reach down in here, wrong screwdriver, let's try another one. Loosen that, and then this toe piece moves forward and back so you can bring it right up close to the blade to help hold those fibers in place if you're using it in a situation where you're dealing with reversing grain or figured grain. Either way, that's a great tool, and I like the fact that it's got that mass behind it. Now, this is just a little daintier, and you may want to use this in smaller applications where this is a bit of overkill. And then you've got the great big monster, and there will be times that you need that kind of capacity. But these are really great looking planes. They were patterned after the original Prestons, which was a company back in England multiple years ago. But I think they did a tremendously nice job on this. I also like the fact that the way the lever cap engages the body of the plane, there's a little bit of a, this pin comes up in and locks in place so that it doesn't have that tendency to slide out when you're reversing the blade, which I found that it might be a little bit easier to see on this little small one. If I take this out, you'll see what I mean. You can see how that pin goes up in and locks. So when you're reversing the blade by turning this adjuster screw counterclockwise, that doesn't have a tendency to pull that lever cap loose. Great tools. Remember, this is the one that I would purchase first. If you're going to get another one, I would get that, and this would be my third choice.